Does it work now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. I think so. Can you hear me now? Yes, I think so. Okay. So let's start over because this is really, really important. So 1,742 days since Richard was forcibly removed from the barracks there, and his life was taken from him in a very brutal way, and his remains were then um, treated even worse, and he was then buried in multiple locations. So, and today it's been a very long day. You can tell 1 a.m. after 1 a.m. And we have gotten so much information coming in. And of course, 20,000 hours must not be enough. We need to do more, right? We are still identifying crime. We're still documenting the crime. We're still filing the crime. And we're still presenting our findings to the public so that you will know what's going on because the media is withholding this information from you. And you see with the Walmart mass shooting case, with Richard Halliday's case, what is going on, right? That there is a lot of cover up and not reporting. And when it comes to the Walmart mass shooting, those two videos are just absolutely jaw dropping, aren't they? Because it shows that there's tampering with evidence, that they were releasing this tampered evidence. And so then when you get the original, it really changes everything, doesn't it? Because now you see the cops, now you see the police there, now you see that they did not secure the doorway, that they did not secure the in and outs, that they did not secure the witnesses, that they did not aid those that were in need, that people were walking over a deceased man's body that was missing half of his head, right? And that there was evidence all around from bullet shells. I'm not a forensics expert, but I know that the shells are there. Um, and then people are walking around, and that there's also um, um, uh, parts of his body, right? Um, and they're walking around. And the police just walks right by it and allows them to walk around this crime scene. And that individual, we have identified, and it's confirmed. We know exactly who that person is, and that's Alexander Gerhard Hofmann Roth, a German national, a German national. And I want to really make this point when you go through all the victims. How are you going to label them? Are you going to label them German? Are you going to label them American? Are you going to label them Mexican? Are you going to label them by race? Are you going to label them by their religion? Are you just going to say these are human beings? And, of course, we need to notify their country. We, and show respect and get to the bottom of this crime by securing the area, securing the evidence, securing the witnesses, having them all sit down outside. You had a police officer telling this man whose wife is um, in the Walmart to go home. What are you talking about? Sit there, uh, and pat them down, make sure there's no weapons, and bring your car in front of the door, right? Bring your police car in front of the door, bring others, and have the some police officers with their pad or recorder or recording devices with their video cams, all the things that we spend millions of dollars giving them, right, to record witness testimonies right away and secure the doorway and secure the victims. And look, a man ran out with a baby. Who was this man? Who was this man? Because something is really off with that. I don't buy it. We hear, we look at it, we analyze it. The shirts don't match. The figures don't match. The forensics doesn't match. And so he runs out. Thank God they have the baby. I hope that was the baby that was reported. But something is very off, and there was nobody there to ask him, "Who are you? Who is this baby?" Right? We don't know to this day. We're, um, because everything is sealed, everything is tampered with, everything is, and there's so much lies. I mean, they're going to the galas raising money for the Walmart mass shooting victims fund. And they know that the Mayellas are the family of Patrick Crusius, and that Patrick Crusius' brother-in-law is in the DA's office with Jaime Esparza, is with James Montoya, is in the Walmart cybersecurity, is in the FBI field office, and has access to all of this information, all of this evidence, from the cameras to witness testimonies to everything. And he is the brother-in-law of Patrick Crusius. And they're planning on a wedding and everything and going to a gala, and they have this open checkbook, and they're getting paid millions and millions of dollars. And then you find out that the Mayellas also have an in with the mental health treatment of the victims' families and the victims. Y'all, it is just, the tampering is, and so we have been right all along. We have the Joe Spencer's audios, lots of them, lots of them. That absolutely, that's evidence. And I don't care, who's who, what's what, if you're a Republican, Democrat, whatever. That evidence absolutely confirms that we have been lied to, that Patrick Crusius had very severe mental health condition, and he was denied a psychological evaluation hearing with an independent judge, which is required by Texas law, to deem him competent to go through those, what the application for appointed counsel, 0-0. I mean, was that fraud or him not being competent? Right? And then that puts the taxpayers on the hook for millions and millions of dollars. And that was signed at 5:42 in the morning of the 4th of August. I mean, on a Sunday, speedy for the open checkbook. That they don't delay. Right? And then we know that the next day, Joe Spencer's already in the jail with Patrick Crusius, and that they don't delay, because then he can charge for his services right away. Not nickels and dimes, but with an open checkbook. And we have that on his own confession, his own audio recording. So the amount of fraud in this is so severe, and it connects to Fort Bliss, and it connects to the Ambreses. It connects to Maria Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and her fraud of the Walmart mass shooting victims fund, right? Um, so it's all connected, and of course, then it's connected to our son's murder. And we know that Patrick Crucius was not a lone shooter that randomly picked El Paso, that he had family ties in El Paso, and not just family ties, real inside the judicial system, inside the very agencies investigating, inside the very agencies that were prosecuting, inside the very Walmart cybersecurity. And then somebody said on a one of the comments that I thought was amazing, was that anyone that lives in El Paso knows that they would pick that Silla Vista Walmart, that would be where the most Hispanic people would be at. But, when I look at the video, and I think that's a very good point, and thank you very much for that point. But when I look at that video, and I've looked at it over and over and over again, both of those videos over and over and over again, um, and I have the where the victim is not covered up. So you can imagine how much prayer that we need looking at this over and over again. And thank you for your prayers. But that Alexander, who was so disrespected as a victim, I just can't even, you know, and that second video, and all the victims, okay, all the victims, but in the part that we have been absolutely told that when you have an active shooter and you look at all the active shooter cases, they don't go for headshots, y'all. They don't go for headshots. Headshots are professional. Headshots are targeting for execution. Now, that has been, and we've looked it up, and of course, my husband being military and us having a military family and all of our military connections. What happened to Alexander Hoffman was targeted execution. Now, explain that. Explain that. And we heard that this happened by one of the witnesses of the multiple shooters, that there was another person, a woman, that also was targeted that way. Now, to do that in less than 2 minutes, okay? If it was a lone shooter, they had to be very quick, very determined, very cold-blooded, very professional. They had to be a hit person. And with that kind of weapon, and we don't know because uh, the evidence, the trajectory, all the forensics, the type of bullets, everything has been kept from us. What we do know is the witness testimonies, and I want to read those to you today because it absolutely, the evidence confirms. And because of the lack of release of information, and then the plea deals, to just plea deal Patrick Crucius out without a competency hearing, and then have that plane pick him. Why didn't he go in a van? Why didn't he go in a bus? He can have a transport van, transport bus. Why this very expensive transportation? It's uh it's just it confirms. That's what it does. It confirms with what we're saying is absolutely right. And we can tell you that evidence confirms that this bloody hell was really a political target. Um, Absolutely to divert attention from the audits and the investigation going on about the criminal trafficking that was going on Fort Bliss, about the border, criminal trafficking going on at the border, because we know that President Trump was absolutely investigating. We know that Richard was a whistleblower witness and that the military failed to secure him. And this bloody hell, that's all I can say uh, after reviewing and reviewing, was used to be exactly that, to be so shocking, right? That it would absolutely shake everybody up to stop the, and then also it had to have the racist element, right? So that people thought that Hispanics were targeted. We were all targeted. Justice was targeted. All of the criminal trafficking victims were targeted. Juarez was targeted because as the cartels are allowed to grow in their criminal trafficking, they suffer. El Pasoans suffer. We were all targeted. The United States, because even federal money. And then you have the international element of it being the German national, being the international news, how they presented the United States. They put a false story out there, a false narrative about the United States. That's what they did. And think about that. Diplomatically, that really hurts the United States. I mean, you have to think of diplomacy too. So it's what they did was absolutely shake even the Trump administration up so bad because of the Vanessa Guillen, because of the Glennon Oakley Jr., Richard, what they did with Richard. You don't think Trump heard about that? Trump absolutely has heard about that. And he knows what was going on with the cartel. That's why day one, 20th of January 2025, he absolutely, one of the very first things he did was to designate them as an enemy of this country, a big T organization, because he knows. And at the time, can you imagine it was just brutal mutiny. It was mutiny. It was absolutely mutiny. And the evidence confirms that this was orchestrated, that this was a mutiny, a mutiny from inside the military. And what do you call it when it's from the judicial, and the whole law enforcement, judicial community, really really the Maielas, and you have the media not reporting on it. You have Veronica Escobar not reporting on it. You have Beto O'Rourke not reporting on it. You have um what's his name? Chris Cuomo in on it. In on it. They were in on it. I mean, I cannot, every time I see Chris Cuomo being presented on the news, I want to throw up. He's in on it. And then you see these videos and you see the older gentleman waiting outside, and the police telling him to go home. And he's like, hell no, I'm not going home. My wife's in there. My wife's in there. Right? It's, thank you. He was the sane one. He was absolutely had it all right. He knew what he was doing. And the the whole response, and then the tampering of that video to cut out the police, to cut out the the fact that Alexander had only half his head, to cut out that the baby was injured, to cut out that there were reports of where the shooter went. And now we have reports of, and the slow response, the slow response. And that's unacceptable for the millions of dollars the taxpayers pay to give them everything, to be trained, and we give them the respect, and they absolutely, whoever was leading this. And don't forget that the police chief, he lost his life, didn't he? I mean, so many people, strange at an early age, have lost their life. I was just looking at some people that were on the news. The Achondo couple's father in 2021, he lost his life. Um, this whole Chris Meissner thing, he lost his life. Glennon Oakley Jr., he lost his life. And you can go on of the people that have lost their life. And lawyers, this is a bloody hell. And we need to absolutely confront it. The gates of hell must be confronted. We don't stand there and let it attack us. We have to confront it with the truth, with justice, with righteousness. And so, this multiple shooter thing, and this lack of a competency hearing that was absolutely required, and the media, uh, you know, playing patty cakes with these criminals. That's what, it's like you want us to do. You don't want us to name your name. You want to be a criminal trafficker? You want to initiate a bloody hell on our community? Okay. Let's play patty cakes. I mean, it is the most disgusting. El Paso Matters, KTSM, KVIA, you name it. You name it. So, and I know I'm going strong at 1:34 in the morning. Okay, so let's look at these witnesses. Joe Spencer. I have so much Joe Spencer stuff. But he says here, when I first met the kid, which was, like 2 days after. So that's the 5th, right? That's the 5th. So that money was squared away. He got that open. This is what gets me. So we have him saying, I'm not going to do this for nickels and dimes. When I met with Guadarrama and Medrano, I told them I was not going to do this for nickels and dimes. When did he meet with them? On the 4th? On the On the 3rd? I mean, Madrano didn't come on until a little bit later, right? And then the case wasn't given over to the federal case to Judge Guadarrama until later. When did he meet with them? Okay, so you got the 3rd, the day it happened. You have 5:42 in the morning when the quickie application got approved for appointed counsel. The open checkbook got approved, super speedy. And then the next day you have Joe Spencer talking to Patrick Crusius, and Patrick Crusius is saying, you know, I only believe I killed one or two, which is bad enough. It's bad enough. He's on the plane, right? He's in that jail suit. He's in the chains. He's in going to be in prison for the rest of his life, right? Um but he doesn't believe he so who killed the 22 others? Who did it? Who injured the 22 others? Who injured the little baby? Right? So that's from, um, he can't fathom killing more than one or two. Okay. So that's from Joe Spencer. Then you have another, and I blocked out the names. I don't want to say the names unless it's already out there. Uh, this person reported seeing 3 or 4 men dressed in black and firing weapons from near the front of the store. Stated the shooters came running in, contrasting with the reported calm entry of the individual matching Crucius's description. Right? The next person said, saw people getting shot in front of the store, believed he saw at least 2 people with guns. The next person, a Walmart employee, stated there were two people. When asked if she saw the shooter repeating the assertion multiple times, saw the 2 inside at the front of the store near the McDonald's. And, this is interesting because the McDonald's is pretty far down the hall. And when you watch that video, the man with the baby comes from the McDonald's. It looks like it. It's like from the McDonald's. So we have like a map of the store that we've been placing things at, and it's very interesting. It seems like the map corroborates the video and this man. Um, and she goes on and says, described one as wearing beige pants and a shirt that was green or light green. Well, that wasn't Patrick, right? He didn't wear a light green shirt. Okay, here's an Air Force combat veteran who described the shooter he encountered. And just think of how many more witness statements they could have had if the police would have said, everyone stay here, gathered them around, sat them down, and started taking statements, right? Which they're supposed to do. Think about how many more witness statements we would have had. But we have a lot here. Describe the shooter. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm on number, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm on number 5. Air Force combat veteran, number 5. Describe the shooter he encountered as wearing all black and a mask with only the eyes visible. Reported 2 separate sightings of the shooter, one in the parking lot entering the west entrance, and one later who emerged from within the store. And this is interesting because there were missed shots, okay? So where did these stray bullets go? Right? These stray bullets. And remember, Patrick Crucius, that pitcher, he only had one clip. That's 30 bullets at the most. 30 bullets at the most. So if you have stray bullets, this is absolutely what we're being looking up and everything like that for forensics. We have to do our own forensics. It's crazy. Um, and then you have the KTSM caller heard double shots coming from two separate areas of the store while hiding. Described one set of shots as closer and one from further away on the opposite side of the store. Mhm. Okay, so number 7. This is a Walmart employee. Fled the sounds of shooting inside the Walmart and ran towards the mall, towards Dillard's West. Heard more gunshots at Dillard's. So the Cielo Vista Mall is right beside the Walmart, the Cielo Vista Walmart. So you have Sam's, the Walmart, and then the mall. And so she ran out, went towards the mall to Dillard's West, and heard gunshots there. Then Glendon Oakley Jr. Glendon Oakley Jr., Fort Bliss Army soldier. Now, I think he was like an E4 or E5. E4, I believe he was an E4, um, was at a sports apparel store in the mall, apparently called Fans, near Dillard's West, when a kid ran in shouting there was an active shooter at the Walmart, heard two gunshots inside the mall at or near Foot Locker, reported hearing people saying two guys got shot right close to where we were within the mall. He saw a whole bunch of people just start running around screaming after hearing the gunshots. Employees at Foot Locker initially lowered the security cage, but then reopened it to allow people to run for the exits. He initially drew his weapon, but put it away when he saw several unaccompanied children in the play area near Dillard's North screaming for their parents. He started trying to grab the kids and bring them to safety out of fear of a stray bullet inside the mall, right? He told CNN's Wolf Blitzer that a whole bunch of mall cops were running around with their M4s, their military rifles, and they were all dressed in black. All dressed in black. Okay, so that is 8. 9. I hope I got these numbers right. I didn't number these. Mall visitor heard one shot inside the mall at or near Build-A-Bear, near Build-A-Bear. Okay, and then the next one, I think it's 10, Finish Line employee heard gunfire and people screaming, "Help me," outside his store in the mall. Okay, J.C. Penney's employee indicated to customers that the shooter was over here in Dillard's, pointing, and Walmart. Okay, that means multiple shooters, right? K Fox reporter arrived at the mall and described the police response, stated, "You could tell that the shooter had come on through the west side of the mall at the Dillard's West." CBS 4 anchor described the massive police response at the mall, mentioned the gunshots that had been reported there, opined that a single shooter should likely have needed to drive between the two locations due to the distance. And then the Walmart victim recalled her assailant looking like a policeman, which did not match the later televised image of Crucius. And then you had the official statements from Mayor DeMargo announcing 3 suspects. That was around 11:30. Then the sheriff's SWAT team reported 3 in custody. Then the K-Fox reported at 1:29 that the shooter or potential shooters ran east of Cielo Vista Mall area into Dillard's. The El Paso Police Department, Sergeant Robert Gomez, stated around 1:43 that there were reports of gunfire at several locations, mainly at Walmart and the Silla Vista Mall, mentioning Dillard's. And then Police Chief Greg Allen, around 5:44, deflected a question about a number of shooting locations and mentioned initial information coming in was several suspects. And then a report that was killed, a Washington Examiner reporter tweeted around 6:36 p.m. that a suspect had been killed, citing a law enforcement source. Um, then also remember the radio, the between the cops, saying that there were suspects, that 2 suspects in vests in the van, right? In a van. So, um, yeah, there's no doubt that all of this, and the sealing, the dealing, the James Montoya agreeing to drop the death penalty and just plead out, because they didn't want to have a trial. They didn't want us to see the forensics. They didn't want us to hear the witness testimonies. They didn't want us to know that Patrick Crucius's brother-in-law is Michael G. Mayella in the DA's office with James Montoya, with Jaime Esparza, in the FBI field office, at the Walmart. You can't make this stuff up. In the Walmart cybersecurity, and that his father is right there managing Judge Guadarrama in the federal courthouse, managing the cases, having access, and that his mother, well, his sister's marrying Brian Crucius, and then his mother, um, and maybe his sister too, are both like working with mental health, right? Uh, you know, and then let's just all go to a gala. Let's just all go to a gala. Let's just create this bloody hell in our beautiful city. And El Paso is. It is an amazing, amazing city. And I know because I used to live there. I went to school there. And it is an ancient city. And my dad would tell me about all the tunnels that were running through that city. That city has tunnels everywhere. Now, you know, you have these earthquakes, and I'm thinking, oh, what are they doing down in the tunnels? Um, so, I used to run all over Fort Bliss. I used to swim there and go to school there, and go camping at Cloudcroft, and all of those beautiful things, because it's such a beautiful, beautiful area. And you cannot have these criminals destroy destroy the world, right? Destroy the world that El Pasoans live in, and cause this fake narrative. If it was real, if there was evidence that confirmed it, then whatever. It's just like this smear campaign that they did on Richard at the beginning. It was so absurd, right? It was. They don't even know how to do a good smear campaign. It was so absurd because of who Richard is, and his life, and you know uh, he- when you are someone that has severe mental health conditions, and they try to smear you with a manifesto, right? That could he even write it? Could he even care about those things that are in there? We don't think so. Um, but he needs to have a mental health evaluation. Um, but it's just absurd. And that's kind of what they did with Richard. They just put this really absurd that there's no way. And of course, we had to spend a lot of time debunking the smear campaign, the interference, and the obstruction that Lieutenant General Sean Cardona, traitor, treasonous Bernabe, um, ordered on this case. And also Lieutenant General Donna Martin, who controlled the guard mount where the smears were being levied from. They were being levied from the guard mount that she was controlling. And into the law enforcement, into the LEOs, right? The law enforcement community, into the law enforcement officers. And that's where we heard it from. Where'd you hear that from? That's so absurd. And he's like, the guard mount. And we're like, really? The guard mount? That you're supposed to be able to trust that. So we knew that the leadership were giving orders um, to smear Richard. And and then, of course, very early on, we found out that he was a whistleblower, not from them, not from them. So for them to be smearing a whistleblower who had been murdered, it's just so criminal, y'all. It's so criminal. So what they did in the Walmart mass shooting, and then to connect Richard's the terrible thing they did in Richard and connect it with the Ambrose family, with Jonathan Ambrose, with Leilani Hart. Leilani Hart being very connected to Kyla Cardona, the assistant to Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, and then being connected, but also having this this confession, this affidavit with all of this harm done to children and all of this criminal activity and being connected to the generals, right? Um, yeah, it is the company they kept is evidence, the crimes they committed is evidence, the documents are evidence, the witness testimony is evidence, the interference is evident. And, Richard came out, even with all of the things they were trying to say, nothing stuck. He's Teflon. He's a Teflon soldier. You have the Teflon president. You have the Teflon judge, Judge Roger Rodriguez. They try to do everything to him. We've been watching that very closely because he's the whistleblower witness in Richard's case who identified Leilani Hart as tampering and being a tampering with Richard's murder uh, investigation and files and being the prime suspect in our son's murder case. And they just have tried to attack him, and everything's been debunked. um, he's the Teflon judge. You've got the only MAGA judge on the border. You think that's a coincidence? They're attacking President Trump, the MAGA president, then the Teflon MAGA president, the Teflon only MAGA judge on the border, and then you have Richard, the MAGA soldier, the Teflon MAGA soldier. That they tried to smear his character. Now, they could kill his body. They could kill his body, but they couldn't kill his character. And he is absolutely, sparkling clean and a hero, absolutely a hero. So, and you saw that they tried to do that with Glendon Oakley Jr. Um, and I hold him very close to my heart, along with Asia Graham, along with so many other Austin Hawk, Enrique Roman Martinez, um, Elder Fernandez, what they did to him. It just goes on. Um, and we cannot stop. We cannot allow this to continue to let these people anywhere near our government, our judicial system, our prosecution. Uh, our law enforcement, our intelligence, the FBI, the CIA, the EPIC, the El Paso intelligence community. Can't let them near, to do the harm that they've done, to be in our uniforms with stars, with access, when they are absolutely confirmed to be up to no good. So this is really important, and so important that I'm up to almost 2 o'clock in the morning. So please share all of this information, and I think we have really, with today, corroborating from a very close source to Leilani, corroborating that we're right about her confession, about her affidavit, about her, that she needs to be arrested, ASAP. So much is going on, and I talked as fast as I could through all of that. But go to Find Richard Halliday, go to the what I've posted up, and please share it. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you, Anicia. Thank you, Olga, for coming on, and for the prayers, and for the love, and for the heads up when my audio doesn't work. Thank you so much. God